Hey everyone, this is Chris and Sandy Bent with the Chris and Sandy Show. We get up close and personal with some amazing guests throughout the entertainment industry. And today, like I said, every episode, we got a great one for you. Who do we have?
Yes, we have comedian Michael Jr. with us today. He has been on the stages of The Tonight Show, Tedx Talks, and Jimmy Kimmel Live. You can also find him in Sony Pictures feature film War Room, as well as starring roles in Selfie Dad, Laughing on Purpose, and More Than Funny. And we're going to talk to him about his story and also his book, Funny How Life Works.
And we're excited to have him on. So welcome to the show.
Welcome.
Cool. It's interesting. Y'all kept talking about me in the third person, but I'm like right here. Like I'm.
Yeah. You know, it's been rough for a lot of people the last 18 months or so. So how did COVID, because again, your whole thing is you got to get on stage in front of crowds. How did COVID affect you? And what have you done to kind of maneuver through this crazy maze we have? Yeah,
so the way it affected me most was I got to be home with my family. Like this stuff was actually really awesome. Like we had already been preparing to not do as many live events. I enjoy being on stage. I really, really like being around the people and the big audiences and stuff. But I also love my family as well. So we were already preparing to do less events. I had a decreasing goal of how many events we would do. And then we came up with a comedy format that was digital. So churches and organizations could do a digital format. And we started working on this 6 months before the pandemic actually hit. Then when it hit, we were already in position. And now I'm super excited, to look back and be like, wow, that was awesome, God. Thanks for that heads up. So it's been really, really cool. Now I'm excited about getting back on stage some, but
but not as much.
Not as much.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's like us. We launched this show January of 2020. Had no idea what was coming. Our original plan was maybe 100 interviews our first year. We thought if we could do that, it'd be a great foundation. And then COVID hits. And I'm sitting there watching everything get shut down. I'm like, okay, I told Sanders, this may be our silver lining. We need to run hard with this.
Yeah, really set the foundation for
and
the show.
Because of that, we've done almost.
You told Sandy that, or you guys?
Yeah, I told Sandy. I was like, we need to run with this hard because, and because of that, we've done almost 450 interviews since.
Yeah.
Wow. So just for clarity, you just told her. Y'all didn't want a discussion at all? You just told her?
Well,
I was like, let's go with it.
What's funny though is when we first launched the show in January, we were an audio show, more of a podcast than video, and she says, "I'll do the show with you, but don't ever ask me to do video."
Yeah, I said I would never do video, and here we are.
And I didn't ask her.
No, he didn't.
Around October of last year, she comes to me.
You told her. We already clarified how y'all communicate. You told her.
But she came to me last October saying, "Do you think that our next step should be video?" And I've been praying that she would make this decision on her own.
That's been waiting back and forth. All worked out.
Well, that's just like our church that we go to. They're talking about telling her. We tried a church out that we went to, and I knew it wasn't where we were supposed to be. I knew it, and I was praying she knew it too. So we walk out this place now. We just had a bad experience, and I told her, "Were you comfortable?" And she goes, "Oh heck no." I was like, "Great," because God already told me that we're supposed to be at Savannah Christian Church and we're supposed to be members. Now we just had a bad experience.
So you told her that too. Wow, you guys are great at this.
And we've been there since 2010.
Wow,
it changed.
Cool.
It changed our life, our marriage, and everything.
It did. Then our little ones came after that. So it all worked out in God's time.
Oh, boom, chaka, wang, wang. Okay.
So tell us, when you look back, when did it click that this could actually be a career for you as a comic? When did you know that part? Because you probably always could tell jokes, but when did you know, wow, this could be a career?
Yeah, I'm still waiting to know for sure. Um, no, I would say so. Just the other day, I did an event. I did a show in Boston, and this young lady contacted us to ask if she could open up the show and be the opener. And I looked at her video, and we decided, yeah, because I always want to support people. But then afterwards, she had questions about comedy and wanted to know what it would take to really make a career. Pretty much your question.
Yeah.
Well, how do you make a career at it? And I explained to her the first thing that's important to know for her is, or just in general, is I don't believe that there's a such thing as a pure stand-up comedian. I think that road ends in, we've seen where that road ends. I mean, we know some stand-up comics who've gotten to what looks like the top, and then they end up dropping, falling real fast. You find them, you either find them in a hotel room somewhere, or they like running down the street, they set themselves on fire, literally, or got a gun. It's like something happens.
Yeah.
So the truth is comedy, I understand that comedy really is the vehicle. It is not the destination. So it's just a tool that I use to accomplish what God has really called me to do, which is to inspire people to walk in purpose, to help them live their best life. It just so happens people are really attracted to the jokes and the comedy. So they're attracted to that so they can laugh. But then it's catch them with the comedy and then keep them with the truth. So so for me, I understood that more so than a career, that I could utilize this comedy for my calling after probably it was like 2010. I was like, oh, I know what I can do with this. And then when I had the revelation outside of a club one day, because when you first started doing comedy, and I've been doing it for a while, my whole mindset was, how do I get laughs from people? But I didn't even know it. I didn't know that. Any career you're in, anything you're doing, you're asking a question. And the question most of the time, in regards to career, is, how can we get? But right before I got on stage one night, I felt like I had a change in mindset. I felt like God gave me a shift where instead of trying to get laughs from people, I was to go up there and give them an opportunity to laugh, which changed everything. Because when you ask a different question, you're going to get a different answer. You're going to, more importantly, you'll notice different things. So I started asking that question that night, right after the prayer. I went on stage, and I remember I didn't do a joke for the first 15, maybe 20 seconds that I was on stage. Normally, my goal would be to have people laughing within the first 7.5 seconds. But I didn't even do a joke for the first 15 to 20 seconds. And looking back at it, I realized what was happening was when you have a gift for someone, as opposed to trying to take something from someone, your job is simply to present a gift. You don't shove it in their face like, ooh, look at this. You wait for the right opportunity to present the gift. And the most powerful part of that is it doesn't even matter how they respond to it. It's really about you presenting the gift and being obedient. So with that understanding, it caused me to just drop my shoulders, really relax, and present the gift to people, which is what I get to do right now. But that overall revelation is now one of the things that I will also sometimes teach in the middle of the jokes, so people can get more clarity and better understand their purpose, even though they showed up mostly.
Talking about the gifts and all that, we joke about this now, but in our almost 19 years of marriage, we would be on the street and we'd
when you say almost 19 years, you guys are about done? Is that what you're saying? Like you almost
19 years, August 5th.
October 5th.
October 5th.
Oh, okay. There's the argument right there. That's great.
But through the 19 years of marriage, we would be on the street, and I would end up in conversations with people, and I'm not talking with people we know, but strangers.
Yeah, complete strangers.
And Sandy would be like, she knows if I get 2, 3, 4 minutes into a conversation, we're there for 30 to 60 minutes. No ifs, no. It just.
No.
And she'd get so mad at me, and I've done that thousands and thousands of times in our marriage. And now we look back and we're like, oh, that was preparing us for
the setup for this.
Because I couldn't, so many times I come on the show and I might have notes, but many times I don't use them because I've held so many conversations that I'm able to keep the conversation going, even if it's someone who I got to pull something out of.
Oh, well, that's great.
But you're not that. We've only got a few.
I was giving you an opportunity to pull something out of me. That's why I went quiet for a second. But
yeah, see how good he really is here.
Yeah, I'll be the master at that, right?
Yeah, I'm not going to call you weird, though. That's just weird. Okay.
Now, you can't be funnier than me now, right? It's our show.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, I love it. But yeah, talking about your gifts and all that, what advice would you give to people who feel like they have the gift, but they don't know how to use it? How do they find that match where, like, we found this match with our show, you found it with your comedy show? How do you connect that dot?
Yeah, so a lot of times, so I created a course. Well, I wrote the book, Funny How Life Works.
Yeah.
We also created a course called Funny How My Life Works, which helps people use this laughter to help people understand how their life works, right? Okay. But one of the things that is key, meaning even when someone goes to college, let's say they have a gift or they have a desire to possibly do something and they want to go to school to get insight so they can pursue the thing. Most of the time when people ask right before college or in college or at some point in their life, they ask the question, what do I want to do? And it's not just the wrong question to ask, it's almost the opposite question to ask.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. If you decide on what you want to do is just a function. It's just a thing that happens. It's not even, there's no emotion attached to just doing. Mm-hmm. So the question you really want to ask is, who do I want to serve? Like if you can ask that question, it changes so much, because the key is really to find out who are the people at the end of the thing that you're doing. So instead of starting with the doing, like what if somebody said, hey, my desire is to drive cars. Which, I mean, just that's an extreme example, but what if your desire is to drive cars, you're like, well, that's like, how long can you do that for before it's whack? If you think about, but if you say, wait a minute, my desire is to help single moms get to where they want to be. Or another example is if somebody says, I want to be a mechanic. If somebody says, I want to be a mechanic, it's like, oh, okay, cool. Why? And then they'll always say, well, I really like tinkering with cars and figuring them out or whatever. But after a while, that's like, okay, great. But if that same mechanic said, I want to help people reach their desired destination, he still gets to tinker and do all the stuff he loves to do, but there's people at the end of it. And the people is what will cause your alarm clock to go out of business. The tinkering and doing that stuff is really about you. So you need to figure out how can you make it about other people. And that right there is where fulfillment is actually located.
Wow. As you know, a lot of people, they see the glory in what you do, the glory in other comedians, actors.
Glory is a big word. Glory is a big word for what I do.
Well, I like to use that because, they see that, but they don't see the grind, the sacrifice, the struggles that people go through to get to what, not just your level, but even just a career level within what you do. And I always want to talk about that side of it because, people gloss over this side of it. They think, okay, I got the talent, I can make it. Even without the work ethic, some people believe that. And I always want to hit that side of it. What have been some of the sacrifices through the years that you've made to get to where you are?
Oh, yeah. I haven't had any. Just like, I really like awkwardness. It's one of my favorite things. Yeah, I mean, just actually just being out traveling. I used to be a single dad of 3. And I was doing comedy, traveling. Wow. So not being there as much for them as I would like to have been, and even now with my kids, I always ask them, like, am I traveling too much? Like, how do you feel about the frequency in which I've been gone? And I try to let them in on it and let them speak into it, because I don't want to assume. A lot of times dads, or maybe just parents in general, will assume, well, I'm making this sacrifice so you can have all of the things. Well, maybe one of the things they want is a parent that's present. So you're sacrificing something that isn't even, they don't even want to sacrifice. Like in 1 Samuel somewhere in the Bible, it might be 5 Samuel, I don't know what it is, but it says obedience is better than sacrifice. So I'd rather be obedient than just sacrifice. So I try to let my kids in on that, and my wife as well, and be like, hey, what? like, I don't want to assume they want a big house and they want all of this stuff and that.
Yeah.
I try to listen to them as well. So then it turns out the sacrifice doesn't even have to be nearly as big. So the key is really, I think, is to communicate. And, you know, I've stayed at some other things. I've had to stay in, like when you're traveling the road, when I first started out, there's these things called, you know, you would think they put a comedian. Well, let me just say this. In my book, I think it's chapter 20 something. I don't know what it is, but there's a chapter in there called, it's called Meatball Subs and My 4-Door Apartment. And when I lived in New York City, I moved to New York City thinking that, you know, once I get there, I had like $600 in my pocket I'd saved up, thinking once I get there, I'll book a couple shows and everything, and then I can use that money to pay my rent and whatnot.
Yeah.
Problem is, when I get to New York City, I booked some shows, but the average show in New York City, I wasn't aware of this, on average, they paid $12 a show.
Ooh, wow.
Just like they would in the Midwest. But $12 a show. So it wasn't long before my address was 1997 Lumina Drive. And it just so happened I also drove a 1997 Lumina. And the reason those two things are the same is because that was my apartment.
I get it.
Yeah. So I lived in my car for a while, really rationing $5 meatball subs, living out of my car, just so I can really try to figure out what to do to get to that next level. So that was some of the things that I had to go through in a significant way. So even with my kids, I mean, when they look now and I talk to them about, and they read my book, and they're like, "Oh, Dad," like they didn't necessarily understand. Like being homeless and not having any friends around, but that's great. I don't want them to understand that. Like I don't want them to have that experience. So some of the sacrifices I just had to make because it was circumstantial. I was just in it. But the ones that I can control, I always try to have a conversation with my family.
You know, that's like with us, you know, with the show, you know, we're not this big show yet. We want to be. The vision is there. We're doing show after show after show, building this brand of the Chris and Sandy Show. But at the same time, we're still doing like delivering food in the evenings. Yeah. You know, everything we can find, but we do it all together. So it's funny. We pull up in people's driveways with me, my wife, our 2 kids in the vehicle, pull up with their foods.
Yes.
Oh, that's great. Long as none of you guys are chewing.
Nope, won't do that. Luckily, the good thing is that they seal the bags now since the pandemic, so it actually helps them where they can't say, "Oh, well, they took food." No, we didn't. It's sealed.
It's sealed. Yep.
Yeah. Unless you cut the bag open at the bottom because it's plastic.
But so we're going through the sacrifice now. Now we're not homeless, but you know, again, there's a lot of people that have that same story. I mean, even Tyler Perry talks about that a little bit and all that. And Steve Harvey, you know, and it's like, you know,
you don't got any white examples of homeless people you want to use for me? You just got all black examples.
A lot of our artist friends have been that way, and they're white.
A lot, yeah. I love our music.
That's cool, man. That's awesome.
But it's funny though, you know, again, it's one of them things where in the moment you feel like, oh God, everything is falling apart. But then down the road, you're like, you look back and you're like, okay, no, it all came together. Is that how you felt through the years?
Mm-hmm. That's good.
Because, you know, because it's a whole, you know, Romans 8:28, you know, I always remember that verse because it's my birthday, August 28th. So, 8:28. So, you know, Romans 8:28, all things work together for the good. And you know, again, you know, I went through 19 years of addictions until God healed me almost 14 years ago. So it's been like everything that we have done, we look back, it's like, wow, you know, God was there even though we didn't see it.
That's great, man. That is really good. Yeah, he's there for sure. Omnipresent. So
what were some of the times where you thought maybe God wasn't there? And I mean, because everybody questions, like, are you really here? Is this what I'm supposed to do? What are those moments?
Yeah, I don't. Maybe before I knew him. I mean, the first time I ever did a prayer as an adult was I was just praying, and it might have had something to do like, okay, God, if you really out there, that might have been the start of it.
Yeah.
But I really think sometimes your relationship with your earthly father kind of dictates your heavenly father. So I don't really have a lot of those conversations where I'm challenging God, because I didn't challenge my dad. Like, I'm like, you need to do that. No, I just never talk back to my dad. So it's really hard for me to kind of talk back and dig into my father that way as well. So I know that about me too. And sometimes maybe I just have probably a more, anybody who works with me will tell you this. Like, I don't really do a lot of math when God tells me to do something. I just kind of jump out there. Even in the book, there's some stuff that I did in the book. Like, even when I went to New Jersey, or just some stuff that I'll say on stage that seems really random that most people wouldn't say. Like, I think a few weeks ago, I mentioned how just out of nowhere, these are in the middle of jokes. People pay money to come to a comedy show. People are laughing, having fun. And then I made mention of maybe somebody in the audience at one time had been raped before. And one thing that you can deal with regards to, like, God will never put you in a position. He'll never let you go through more than you can stand. So maybe someone needs to hear your story so they can be set free, and you can too. Now jump into another joke. We laughing again. And then afterwards, a woman comes up to me and introduces her and her dad and her mom, and they introduced me to their child. Without getting into the details, they had some serious struggles with the child's dad because it was a child of rape. But I didn't even know they're in the room, and what they've been going through. The things I said just lined up perfectly. So I try not to do too much math. I just try to be as obedient as I can and just jump out there. And all of it, I mean, for them, I just jump, and then a parachute just jumps on my back, and I end up floating down. I'm like, oh, this is great. I'd like to say I do it every single time, but every single time that I do, it's always a much softer and graceful landing that I could ever have imagined.
You're talking about jump. All our marriage, we've done that. Even with the show, we just jump, not knowing what we're doing, and here we are, 150 interviews later. We started our marriage out in that way. We've actually met online in 2002, back when it was taboo back then.
Oh yeah, wasn't the normal thing.
We were called crazy, all that, because we met February 2nd of 2002. We talked on the phone for the first time February 4th. We set a wedding date February 18th, and we met in person March 4th. So we were meeting in person to see we really believed that God brought us together. We truly, and we jumped. And
we just went with it. We did jump.
And we married that same year.
Let me ask you a question real quick.
Yeah.
Are you a hostage? Are you okay? Everything good? You're not a hostage, right?
All good. All good.
Okay. She's my hostage. She ain't going nowhere.
Blink twice if you need help, okay? Just blink your eyes.
Okay.
I'll be. I'm watching you.
That's a great story, man. That is awesome. Way to jump in there. Like that's really, really, really cool. That's one of the more beautiful, desperate stories that I've heard.
and again, it was one of them things where some people would look at it like, well, look, because first 5 years of our marriage, she went through hectic because of my addictions. I was still in that.
Yeah.
But what people didn't realize is, people said, she allowed you to walk over her those beginning years. I'm like, no. She allowed me to experience God's pure love through her. It's a big difference.
That's good.
Because if she didn't do that, I don't think I'd be alive today.
And the cool thing about that in general is it's always going to be someone else's perspective too, right? People can add you can attach a meaning to anything that someone says, and you can attach several different meanings. But the meaning you guys attached to it, you chose to go with more closer to what God would say that meant, where some people can see it and think that means something completely different. So it's all about what meaning people are attaching to things. So I think that's a pretty powerful story, man. Really good.
Well, we appreciate that,
Sandy,
man.
If you're a hostage, just
I'm going to introduce her as my hostage, Sandy.
Oh gosh, Shelby's gonna call me that now.
But yeah, I mean, you just never know where life is going to lead you. And
takes
even
crazy
though
turns sometimes.
I was divorced before her and all that,
I
still wanted love, and I never held back. And I think, and I went through a lot of relationships And every time I turn around, oh, we're too good of friends. So they'd break up. We're too good of friends. And I always felt like there's going to be somebody that accepts me for being the nice guy.
That's what I was looking for.
And because, in this day and time, you see a lot of people that, like on Facebook, you see women say they want that edgy guy.
Bad boy.
And I'm like, you better be careful. I mean, again, maybe you can turn, but we've seen so many stories where it doesn't work right.
Right.
Yeah, you want it edgy. Now you get it. Now you're like, wait a minute, it's the wrong edge. I don't want this.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's cool, man. That's really cool. It's also interesting that you're on Facebook reading what other women are looking for. I just want to point that out to us. I'm just
oh, I gotta love that. But yeah, when you look at social media, because again, and growing up and us growing up, we never had social media and all that, but that's such a pressure on people nowadays, especially the younger generation.
Oh, it is. Yeah.
How,
a lot that comes with
as a Christian, can you handle that to grow and grow big and still handle it with God's foundation? Because that's, I think, the struggle for a lot of people
that is.
in this day and time.
When you say handle it to grow big, what do you mean exactly?
Not letting social media change you, but you change what's on social media through what you say. Because, a lot of times you see all that and it's like, if you become negative, you become the sourpuss and all that, and divisive. And it's like, some of my friends, I'm like, y'all need to just get off social media.
Yeah, well, I think social media is very similar to money. It just takes on the characteristics of the person who possesses it. So if you're saying some negative things on social media, or you're even noticing negative things, maybe that's just really what's in your heart. So I do this thing nowadays that is so awesome, and I'd highly recommend your listeners try this as well. Where most of the time, whenever there's something that people don't like, for example, a certain president, a certain political party. You don't like the Republicans, or you don't like the Democrat, whatever that is. Instead of just fighting the other side or fighting whatever, this is right, you should say, look, instead of doing that, what if we just pause and say, wait a minute, why is it that I am so against the other side?
Yeah,
I love
the
that.
other side. Like just actually ask the question and ask yourself, what am I feeling? Because if you press into that right there and really just ask, why is it? You might actually learn more about yourself, because one of my favorite lines is, life will bring you people and circumstances to reveal where you're not free. Life will bring you people and circumstances to reveal where you're not free. So if just using the example of a political party, if they just bother you, you have to press in, not to them to argue and all of that stuff. No,
yourself.
What is this? Why is this rubbing me this way? And don't assume, well, it's because it's wrong. No. It actually has nothing to do with anybody on the outside of you. You might find out that when you were 10 years old, somebody who looked like that candidate actually beat you up at school, and that's why you don't like the candidate. But instead, because have you ever noticed somebody who's in a relationship and say it's a bad relationship? Say it's a woman and she's in a relationship with a bad guy, and then somehow she breaks up with that guy. Well, who does she find next?
Same guy, basically.
The same
guy.
Same guy, different person.
Yeah.
Exactly, because life will bring you people and circumstances to reveal where you're not free. And then if she breaks up with that guy, she's still going to find the same type of guy. But if she would press in and figure out, wait, what is this? Why do I like him at first and then dislike him? What is it about me? And then you might find out, oh, this dude reminds me of my dad, and I didn't have closure with my dad before he passed away. So now I got to get closure. Otherwise, you're looking for you'll never learn anything until you press in and find out what's going on with you. And it's almost like a visual would be, it's almost like you got a big knot on your shoulder and you're made out of wood, and God is he wants to use some sandpaper to rub it down so you can be in the shape he wants you to be. But most time we pull back because the rub hurts. If you press into it, you'll find out what it is, and in no time at all, it'll be gone, and then you'll be in the shape God wants you to be in. So I'm just saying.
Yeah. That's like when you look at my Facebook page. I think I've went out of my way to do this, to where I have Democrats, Republicans, anti-Trump, pro-Trump, anti-Biden, I mean, everybody through my Facebook personal page. And that's given me a perspective from other sides where, and again, some of my people who believe like me kind of don't like some of my new beliefs, because sometimes I'm like, they're actually right on this issue. Mm-hmm. And I've been able to come to other conclusions by having all these other people in my life like that. And, because I see it like a marriage, when you've got the Democrat Party and the Republican Party, like if Sandy and I, a lot of times in an argument, people would, in marriage, they're trying to think to respond instead of listen to understand. And that's what's happening with political parties. They're not trying to listen to understand. Because I've told my conservative friends and I've told my liberal friends, will you just listen to the other side? Just listen. You don't have to agree. Just listen. That'll go a long way more. And you can even say you don't agree at the end.
Right.
But that will go much further than immediately attacking.
Yeah, because you're not going to learn anything. And then you're going to find somebody else who, I think one of the best ways we would all be able to fully, really get along with each other, whether it be whatever political party, or even if it's the racial issues we have. Mm-hmm. Specifically the racial issues. I know I have a solution on how all races could absolutely get together in harmony. If all we need to have happen is if some aliens showed up from another planet.
That would help.
If some aliens showed up and they had two heads, we would all get along together, but the one-headed people would
be the human race now.
And now we got something else to focus on. I mean, so it's not like it's going to go anywhere at all. I mean, we're going to have our own biases, but what can you learn from the bias? Like, can you reflect on yourself and be like, what is it? Why don't I like the people who look like that? And then just do the math. Chances are there's something that happened in your past, or you saw a movie that influenced you the wrong way, or your parents said something. Like, deal with that thing versus, because life will bring you people and circumstances to reveal where you're not free. Period.
I will remember that.
Yes, that's powerful.
I said it like 4 times. Life.
I'm starting to sink in.
It's got to sink in, right?
Yeah.
I'm hard-headed.
He is hard-headed. Yeah, that's true.
Okay, I believe you guys want to argue about that right now. No.
As you know, a lot of people, they see you and the other entertainers, but they don't see the teams behind y'all. In our opinion, the teams never get the love they deserve.
They don't.
So you're going to take a few moments just to tell us about the team that helps you be who you are.
Oh, no, I don't care about those people. I got this new book coming out. No, I'm just playing. My team is amazing. My assistant, Diana, super.
We met her.
Oh, yes, we could meet her.
Best assistant ever. And she's, I've had like 19 different assistants. And she's been.
Oh, wow.
Really
they're like, okay, the jokes are enough. I'm leaving.
yeah, right. So, and then, first of all, I didn't know how to hire. I hired one who showed up at an interview and she didn't have a pen.
Wow.
But I still hired her. My issue is I see people's potential. So now, so now I don't hire anybody, my team. And then I have a COO named Mac, who just handles everything as far as bookings, live events, any television and movie stuff. Like, he handles it super well. And then I had a woman who recently got pregnant by her husband, and we gave her 12 weeks off paid, which I thought was great. It felt good to be able to do that. And then she just recently told us that she's going to stay at home with the baby. I'm like, what? Where's your priorities at? You just met that baby. You've been knowing me for like 5 years now. We go back. So I'm actually super happy about her. And then we got some new people on our squad. And I got some family members that work for me. And there's no way. Like, I'm super, super creative, which means I can create the funny, but nobody would ever know about it if it wasn't for my team. Like, I just be funny at home, just sitting there, or at 1997 Lumina Drive, just funny right there, just sit in my car, broken funny. And then, of course, my wife, who actually handles all of or oversees the finances right now, even though she doesn't really necessarily love to do that, but she won't be doing it long. But if it wasn't for her on multiple levels, Yeah, I literally would still be in my car, but there wouldn't be any gas in the car, and it would probably be on the back of a tow truck, and it would be a stolen car. Yeah, so yeah, my squad is pretty awesome. And then my daughter, even all my kids, I got 5 kids, but my 11-year-old, we do a thing every Thursday.
We could do the Family Feud on
Facebook called Coco Thursdays, where me and her are sitting in the car and we're just talking like father and daughter every Thursday at like 7:30 Central Time, Facebook Live, just in the car kicking it about life. So it's pretty cool. Oh, wow.
So y'all could do the Family Feud yourself.
Yeah, except for the feud part. We don't really like the feud. Unlike you guys, apparently. You just tell her what to do, and then I get it, man. I get it. That's what the feud is.
What's funny is, what's funny is through our years, people actually thought she was like that, but she stands her ground.
Yeah, they just don't see it.
Oh, that's good. I believe that for sure. Yeah. And then even with the writing of this book, it took me a long time.
Remember, you got to worry about the quiet ones.
Yeah, I didn't hear anything you said. So,
I was like,
worry about the quiet ones. So even my family, in a really cool way, was very supportive when I had to write this book, because I don't like writing at all, but I know I had to get the book done. I wanted to get it done so people could enjoy the stories, because people hear the jokes, but they don't understand some of the meanings and some of the things and how the jokes and the comedy came about. So there's a lot of life lessons in the book, but then there's also funny, hence the title, Funny How Life Works. So we wanted people to actually be able to laugh, because when you laugh, you actually retain more information. So why not make a book that's both funny, has some stories, and then some really good information as well that can help people do even better or live even a better life. So Funny How Life Works was boom. It was born. And we created a podcast
called Funny How Life Works.
Well, super excited about that. What's that?
Who came up with the name Funny How Life Works?
I'll say my team did. My team was pretty strong with that stuff. They're pretty dope. So yeah, and the book is doing well. Like when it first hit the shelves on Amazon and Barnes and Noble, they sold out in the first week, which sounds good. But at the same time, I'm like, yo, we need to get some books.
More in there.
Yeah, so it's super exciting. And then we actually are doing signed copies. If people go to funnyhowlifeworksbook.com, you can still get an actual signed copy. So that's pretty exciting.
Oh, wow.
Awesome.
Love that. Now, speaking of teams and family, we have a third co-host, our little 9-year-old boy,
Christopher.
So Sandy's going to go get him real quick. And we got a 2-year-old daughter that when she gets older, we'll be plugging her in the show too.
Oh, cool. Way to exploit your kids, man. Are you going to ask them if they want to be a part of it? Or you just going to throw them in there? You're
going to throw them in there. Because we created the name Family Affair Media, so it's going to be a family affair, even if we got to fight over it.
Oh, cool. Family Feud. That's great, man. Cool. Christopher.
Hi, Michael Jr.
Floating head. He's got green shirt on.
Hey, what is up? How are you? Random person who's just head on it?
Yes.
Cool.
Sometimes he's got the green shirt on today, so it's
green screen. Yeah. Yes.
That's okay. I think this is child abuse on some level. I'm just gonna throw this out there. Cut his head off, and now I'm making him talk. Cool. Christopher, you're 9 years old.
Yeah. Hi, Mike Jr. So, what's a favorite food?
What's that?
What's a favorite food?
Oh, my favorite food. You were from the South somewhere. What's your favorite food? I'm gonna go with French fries. Let me ask you a question. Who's your favorite parent?
Oh, gosh.
You don't have to answer. You already looked at your mom. We already get it. You looked at her first.
Yep, he looked at mom.
Not the answer. Cool. So clearly your dad is the one who cut your head off. That is great.
I cut your head off. Is that funny?
Yes.
Cool. All right, you had that one question prepared. That's great, man.
Yes.
Glad
so,
you had that already.
And what's yours?
Oh, mine is pizza.
Oh, pizza. Oh, that's cool, man. You can only eat so much pizza without a body. I just want to.
Well, I guess without a body, you can eat as much as you want.
Yeah.
It's gonna make a mess, though. It'll make a mess.
That's true.
That's awesome, man. So
Yes.
you're
All right,
9 years
so
old, and what grade are you in?
I am in a 4th grade.
Oh, cool. I remember 4th grade. That was a cool 2 years. That was fun, man.
Yes.
You should just do 1 year in 4th grade. Don't do
Yeah,
don't do 2.
Yeah. So what's your favorite TV show?
Favorite TV show? It's not out yet, but it's coming. It's not out yet, but it's en route. Yeah. What's your favorite TV show?
Mine is SpongeBob.
SpongeBob. Oh, that's so cool. Have your parents ever watched it? Because they
Yeah, a lot.
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool. That's great.
We see every episode.
A Bible verse at the end. That's not weird.
What's been crazy is he watches a lot of Nickelodeon and Disney shows. So a lot of the actors that are on those shows have come on our show. So he's been able to talk to them.
Hey, Christopher, what have you learned from SpongeBob?
Oh God.
What not to do sometimes?
Yeah,
Maybe everything.
So we ain't taught him. We're homeschooling him, so we ain't taught him nothing.
Yeah. Have you ever heard of so you're learning from SpongeBob. Do you know what the CPA is? Have you ever heard of that before, Christopher? It stands for
No.
Child Protective Agency. Yeah. We're gonna see if we can get them to come by. That is great, man. I think it's pretty awesome that your parents allow you to be on the show with them, man. That's pretty awesome, Christopher.
Yes.
You're doing a great job too, man. Like you got good presence. You're not afraid to ask questions. Good job, dude. Really good job.
All right, so what's your favorite movie?
Favorite movie? I think my favorite movie that I haven't been in, because I should eliminate the movies I've been in from this. I would probably say Forrest Gump is probably my favorite movie.
Oh wow!
And then another one came out. I need to watch it a second time to see if it can compete for my favorite. But the movie Harriet, when it came out, I was very, very impressed with Harriet. It's about Harriet Tubman. I don't know. Do they teach you Black history at your homeschool?
History heavy this year.
Why you guys answering for him? Let the man answer. What are you doing right now? Yeah, of course we do. Yeah, remember we went to breakfast.
Yep, he can answer.
That is cool. So you should check out the movie Harriet. If your parents let you watch SpongeBob, you can for sure watch Harriet. It's pretty good.
Yes.
What's your favorite movie?
Mine is the Minions movie.
Great. Have you seen Selfie Dad?
Not yet.
No.
Okay, you should watch Selfie Dad. I think you might enjoy that one as well. Dominion.
You'll have to watch it.
About a dad who takes dominion over his house, so it's kind of the same thing as dominion. Cool.
Bye, thanks.
Hey, all right, man. Cool.
Yes.
Good job.
Yeah, he's been in like over 400 interviews. So
Oh, that's cool, man. Good for him. That's great, man.
And we love having him on.
We love having him.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And what are some sources of inspiration for you?
I kind of let that stuff just show up in my life, but I am purposeful as well. Like my favorite is the stuff that just shows up, but I also enjoy, like right now I'm meditating on the Bible in a new way that I hadn't before, where I read it and I just take a little piece of a verse, and then I just read it over and over again, and then I'll just say it, and then I will write it, whatever that small phrase is, over and over and over and over and over again. Then I actually sing it, whatever that phrase is, I'll sing it to get it more into my heart, and then I will pray it as well. And then the thing that I added to that recently is I'll also write it with my left hand, just to get it into my heart. So I'll write it with my offhand. So that's been really inspiring in a significant way.
Well, she's left-handed.
Yes, I'm left-handed. So is Christopher. Yeah. He's left-handed also.
Our 2-year-old's right-handed like me.
Yes.
So. Oh, cool. So you think the other ones might not be your kids? Is that what you're thinking right now? I don't know. Yeah, so just really being inspired by God's word because of the way I'm digging into it. And it also digs into me, which is pretty awesome.
Yes. What would you like for your legacy to be? What would you want to be most known and remembered for?
I would say that I help people help people.
Oh,
Because
that's
that can
great.
last way past me. I want to help people.
Instead of being hurt people, you help people.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly. Because that's better. Yeah, thanks.
Way better.
Yeah, you guys are
And-
awesome, man.
Oh, thank you. And if you could relay any message to your fans and followers, what would you want to say to them?
I think the thing that I would really want to say to them is, yeah, buy my book. Yeah, that's what's important. In life, just like in comedy, in life there's a setup and there's a punchline. Your setup is what you receive, but your punchline is about what you're called to deliver. And everyone knows their setup. Like everyone knows the fact that you're married, you got a car, you got this podcast, you got like whatever that is. Your setup is what you receive. But the key is to understand what is your punchline. And just like me as a kid, I used to struggle with my reading and had other struggles as well. Even your setbacks in life are part of your setup so you can deliver the punchline you're called to deliver. Everyone listening, everyone watching right now, there's something that you're called to do. And the fact that you've been through what you've been through just means that you've been set back. But like a slingshot or a bow and arrow, the further you've been set back, the further you can reach. You just have to know what to aim for. So you do, by all means, have something to deliver. And you just make the world a better place when you choose to do exactly that.
Love that. Definitely love that. And so as we come to a close here, what's advice you would give somebody? Let's say they're just starting out, they're wanting to be a comedian or even an artist and actress. You know, anybody, somebody in entertainment, and they're just starting up. They feel called to this. What advice would you give that person to kind of help guide them the next few years?
Yeah, it would be the same. It would be similar to what I said earlier. Is don't focus on the do, focus on the who. Right, like who is it you're called to serve? Because acting or singing is only going to be seasoning for the meat that you're supposed to deliver to them. Or for the vegetarians out there, the squash, like whatever. Like it's just seasoning for what it is you're called to deliver. If you focus on the seasoning, life will get bitter because it's just seasoning. You have to add the seasoning to whatever it is that people need and deliver that.
I love that. So tell everybody how they can find you, which they probably already know.
I'm right here. You can yeah, so if they just go to I'm Michael JR Comedy on all platforms. Okay. And if you want to connect directly with me, just go to michaeljrcomedy.com/yo. You can get on the list because we're constantly sending people inspiration as well as comedy on a regular basis. So just michaeljr.com/yo, and then and we'll stay connected. That would be pretty cool.
Love that. You know, we really enjoyed having you on the show today, and we look forward to having you back down the road.
Hey, thanks a lot for having me. You guys are awesome. I really appreciate it. Tell Christopher I said thanks too.
I will let him know.
You have a blessed day.
Yes, thank you so much for your time.
Child Protection Services. All right. Thanks, guys. I appreciate it.